do this for a while. I really. All right, let's go. Seems like you're saying clear me. Welcome, everybody. Welcome from the great city of Cincinnati, the Radio City. As you know, I repeat that often, the Queen City. That's how we're known. And, as I like to tell at the beginning, solid temperatures, 50s, 60s, a little bit windy. All goes well. Glad that, thank you all of you that came over from Tony's show. Thank you for all of you who came over from my YouTube, from Substack, which, by the way, we'll get to in a little bit. There will be a show tomorrow at 2 p.m. live on Substack. My Amped Up with Cliff Schechter. Yeah, they gave me a show. I don't know what they're drinking over there. What's in the water? Not fluoride. If somebody, RFK, I don't know if I can say his name anymore, but I'm saying it, is over there. Clear and loud. Nice. Jim Williams, my man. Jim, Yankees been playing pretty well, huh? Okay, we'll lose people if we continue with that. A lot to talk about today. There was breaking news. I'm sure those that came from Tony's show, Judge Booseberg, who actually taught at my high school for 1 year, I learned. Though I was a freshman, I think he taught junior, senior history, so never had him. And all the kids scared him away, and he went and became a judge, and now he has to deal with Trump. Turns out he found likely evidence of criminal contempt by the Trump administration. I wish it were civil, because I assume if it's criminal contempt, Trump will just pardon everybody involved. There are certain administration members he's saying need to be outed, need to be shared, their names, who committed these offenses. And, you know, Trump won't do that. He'll probably just send back like a cartoon, like a stick figure with a middle finger sticking up or something Trumpian, you know, maybe some extra diapers in case Booseberg needs to borrow some of his supply, or, you know, how he gets the special deals for the crispy thighs at KFC to watch Fox and Friends in the morning. I don't know. But the fact that judges are still standing up to him is important, because obviously we're in a scary moment right now. Trump was sitting there with that. I mean, the look on that, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I don't care. Bukele's face in the Oval Office, that little fascist, is reminiscent of so many other looks on so many other fascists' faces like that, as they talk about an innocent man and say they won't deport him. And of course, you know, I remember being told this story about El Salvador by a right-winger that I work out with at the gym, who tried to convince me of the error of my ways and how El Salvador was doing it the right way and whatever. And being on the board of the Ohio Innocence Project here for 8 years, something I'm very proud of, I was said, oh, right, they just brought crime down by that huge level. And yeah, they had a national security emergency there. They had gangs, they had, you know, destabilization. And we helped bring that about by making it easy for anybody who wants to get a gun, for example, where there's more control on them in other countries, like, let's say, Mexico. But I digress. There are criminal gangs, they had to be dealt with. But when you start mass arresting, as we know, you don't care about people who are innocent and get caught. And so he just wanted to bring down crime. And apparently, according to Human Rights Watch, numerous innocents, just by what their background was or who they saw them hanging out with, or phone calls made, because nobody could make an anonymous phone call and say that you're hanging out with somebody because they didn't like you, or they're competing with a job with you, or they wanted to marry your spouse, or who knows, and set you up. So that's how crime went way down. It's called fascism. If you like low crime from people every day, fascism's great. If you like low crime from your government, fascism's terrible, because all they do is commit crime. And so we have a situation now where Trump, you know, and when I haven't even gotten to the part now where Trump and Bukele are sitting there playing this little game about, oh, well, Bukele's like, well, we can't bring him back. We're not under the jurisdiction. Listen, that guy is like another little frickin', he wants to be another little Trump pimp, okay? He wants to join Trump and make billions and like play their little crypto scams together with the crypto bros. That's all that jackass wants to do. So in the end, he'll do whatever Trump wants. If Trump said to him, you need to bring back our damn guy who's in the prison right now, of course they would. So when he says he can't do it, of course he can do it. All that has to happen is Trump asks him to do it. It's Trump and Trump's people that don't want to ask him to do it, because they know this guy will come back and will launch a huge civil case against them and will win. And that's not something that Trump's protected from by being president, by the way. Um, and, on top of that, he'll talk to the press. So if the guy is still in decent, like shape, and I hope he is, considering that really is a concentration camp, cosplaying as a prison. I mean, you've seen it, right? Because the one from Homeland Security who shoots her dog and has had her face altered in 47 ways so she doesn't look like herself anymore was happy to go down there and pose in front of it because she's a fucking ghoul. Um, uh, you know, we don't know, but hopefully, he is in good shape, and that's where Chris Van Hollen comes in. And all of us folks, like we say that Democrats need to do more, need to be heroes. I wrote about this in my Substack today. I'll encourage you to go read it. I haven't sent it out yet. Blueamp.co. It's blueamp.co. But there are heroes among us, and we should remember this. Booseberg is one because his name is only famous now because he had the temerity to stand up to Trump, and what the price is going to be. We saw that with Judge Marchand, right? Even that judge's daughter was being threatened. What's going to happen is Booseberg's whole family is going to have to get massive security. They probably already do and have for a while. They're going to be threatened. They're going to have their private information shared online. We know how this goes with the right wing nuts. But the end result of this is Chris Van Hollen standing up for someone who lived in Maryland. That's where Kilmar Abrego Garcia lived. It decided to go down there. And that is doing something, folks, because I wrote about in this thing. It is not safe right now. Okay. Donald Trump is a treacherous bastard, and there's treachery around every corner. I like to say it this way. Mike Pence was scared to get into his car with his Secret Service on January 6th. What does that tell you about what he thought Trump was capable of? So if you're Chris Van Hollen, I'm nervous for him right now. I mean, he is somebody who he's somebody who is going into a situation. I don't know. You ever see the movie Clear and Present Danger? I know that's just a movie, but I'll give you the more realistic scenario that happened, which was Jonestown, where, did she retire recently? Jackie Spire. She was an aide who went down with the congressman who they ended up murdering before they all drank the Kool-Aid. Quite literally, that's how the phrase started. So it is not safe. You've got this guy Bukele that's in Trump's pocket. I just hope Van Hollen took a lot of security. So he's a hero, and what he did was hugely important because that is how if Booseberg makes this decision, Van Hollen goes down there and will not allow this to just go away. That is how you ensure that justice is served. If you just let them sweep it under the carpet, they will, and they'll move on. By going there, Van Hollen this is what I talk about when I talk about even public relations. There's not a lot he can do, especially in El Salvador, but he can demand to see him, and media will follow. So it's spectacle, as I've said, and not in a bad way. Republicans use spectacle in a bad way, right? Yell and scream and make up lies. I'm talking about a good way to get attention. Cory Booker, too, said that he was going to perhaps fly down, and Cory Booker has been on fire lately. First, that filibuster. I've read about how he completely shut up Kristen Welker on Sunday on the ridiculous Meet the Press when she kept, what do you think? Are you running in 2028? Is Kamala Harris? Because they can't get their heads out of their colons for long enough to realize the crisis we're in right now. Yeah, let's talk horse race politics, Kristen. That's what everybody wants right fucking now. Man, you have the pulse of the people. And Booker, to his credit, wouldn't play the game. Just kept responding and saying, this is not what my constituents are interested in. They're losing due process. They're losing their jobs. We are talking about that. And, it's note to Democrats, anybody watching this, anybody who I was on Bob Seska's show as a guest earlier today. And, I've talked about this, but anybody who watched Cory Booker, I used to go on those kinds of shows. You don't have to answer the questions they ask. Republicans never do. Don't do it. Don't play their game. Do what Booker did. If they say, hey, what do you think about 2028? I say, well, what I think about 2024 right now is the fact that we don't have due process, and a man living on American soil was literally kidnapped and sent out of the country to a gulag. Oh, do you think Kamala Harris will be a good candidate? Well, I mean, I don't know about Kamala Harris. What I do know is Donald Trump has said he'll run for a third term, abrogating the Constitution, destroying American democracy. And I think right now we need to hold him accountable for the crimes he's committing, the quite obvious insider trading, blah, 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 blah. See where I'm going with this? You don't have to answer their questions. And they're going to ask stupid questions because that's what they do. So every one of those shows, you come in with the 3 or 4 talking points you are prepared to talk about that need to be thrust upon Trump. I mean, if you guys saw that, the town hall with Chuck Grassley, who, by the way, is he like Old Yeller at this point? You think somebody's just gonna? I mean, maybe the right person to do it is our Department of Homeland Security chief, who could just take Chuck Grassley for a walk to the gravel pit. I don't know. I mean, he could barely pronounce anything. Is he? He like 96 or so? Is he sentient anymore at all? Like he's they kept but the thing that, beyond the fact that Chuck Grassley is not a sentient being anymore and should not be allowed in the Senate, is the fact that there was a guy there in a red MAGA hat who was giving him shit about the fact that that Trump was not giving them an honest answer, and that Trump deported this guy, and even somebody who quoted their Christian scripture and said we are supposed to welcome the stranger, and just, it was amazing. So if you don't believe, go find that clip. I may find it for you. I know how to put clips in here now, I think. Let's see. Chuck Grassley, town hall. Let's see what we can do, guys, because I've gotten so much smarter now. And by that, I mean not really that smart, but smart enough to do this. Let's see. Chuck Grassley's town hall. Oh, there we go. Ooh, you can watch the video in 4 seconds. That's nice, though. Not a bad ad for this one. All right. This is going to, we don't care about the part here, but let's see if we can. I don't know if I can do it by putting a link in there, or I have to put the video in there. So this may fail. And if it does, we'll be happy that extra camera video file, image file, invite guests, slides and PDFs. Ah, crap. It may not be, maybe that you have to put a video in there that has already been downloaded. You know what? I can download it while we're having this conversation, and I will get you that. But in any case, so Grassley, of course, tried to defend it, and there was this dude in a MAGA hat right there, and there were a bunch of other, and they were all old white folks, the Chuck Grassley thing, in Iowa, probably not our people, and they just would not let up, and I honestly believe that that this is it. This is the way, folks. You need to get in their faces. You go to these things. Chuck Grassley was like, well, after about 20 minutes of stumbling, he's like, the Congress doesn't have that right. And they're like, you can demand it. You can call people before you. You can make demands. You can, like, don't play stupid. And again, these were likely Trumpers doing this. So you really have to be kind of like happy with the fact that that you've got your Trump people who are making these kinds of demands and are seeing that, this could be them. Maybe they finally realized that, right? They finally realized that this could be them. Let's see if this works. Come on. All right. Now we'll download this video. I'm sorry for the pause, but I think it'll be worth it. Let me save it. May not be high quality either, but who the hell cares? Grassley. Why don't we just say Grassley older than Methuselah is what we'll name it. Does that sound good to everybody? Acceptable? Good. Glad we're all on the same page here. It better work now that I've gotten everybody all excited for it. So let's see. Okay. All right, guys, here we go. Here we go. You can't tell me after all that it didn't work. Come on. Come on, you must work. Let's try again. And there's weird things sometimes where it says like there is 0 bytes in that file, and I have to resave something for the second time. So sadly, this isn't a new thing. It's happened before. I'm gonna be really pissed if this doesn't work though. Remember last time when I did this and it like worked and it was great and everything? Urgh. Okay, well, let me try one more thing. We're gonna look for it on my desktop and try to do it that way. Because sometimes things just don't work one way; they work another way. Because the world is a stupid place.
You're gonna bring that guy back from El Salvador? Yeah. Why not?
Well, because that's not a power of Congress.
The Supreme Court said to bring him back.
Judges are,
Yeah.
and the president is upholding the Constitution.
He's defined the
You're on the
Constitution.
Judiciary Committee.
Trump don't care.
Guatemala is or El Salvador is an independent country. The president
Speak
of
up,
that
please.
country,
We can't hear you.
the president of that country is not subject to our U.S. Supreme Court.
The president to bring him back. I'm pissed.
We would like to know what you, as the people, the Congress, who are supposed to rein in this dictator, what are you going to do about it? These people have been sentenced to life imprisonment in a foreign country with no due process. Our government cannot do anything.
Trump isn't a king.
Why won't you do your job, Senator?
Yeah.
Ooh, Chuck. Poor Chucky boy. Getting a little bit beaten up there, huh, folks? This thing is fun, man. I made it to show you all sorts of videos for the hell of it. Soros plants, or what they say about us, right? Yeah, they're all Soros plants. We're all paid by Soros, all of us. I appreciate it. I get to go out to dinner sometimes with my family and Soros. I just call him. He sends me a check. You know, it's kind of a cool system. Yeah, well, there were like 30 different people in there asking questions. There's a longer clip of that you can watch, and I'm exaggerating, but I saw at least there. I mean, there are obviously more than 30 people in there, but I saw at least 10 or 12 of them ask questions. So unless Soros and the left in general is good at getting 10 to 12 people to look really MAGA-like and be angry about all of this, I think it's starting to break through to people. And you have to also remember that this is compounding other stuff. This is Iowa. This is a farm state. People's farms have been destroyed by what Doge did and by the deportations Donald Trump has done, which has emptied out some of these farms of workers, and the other ones who didn't get deported ran away because they don't want to be deported. So, whoops, you don't have anybody working on your farm, and now you're going out of business. Not to mention construction sites, other places. So could it be fake? But they looked pretty damn MAGA. They sounded pretty damn MAGA. And you know, one in a different part that I haven't shown you, I checked, must have been lost in the mail. Poor Jim. Jim, they never send you that check when they're supposed to. Yeah, DeJoy probably. He probably just pocketed it. But you know, it doesn't really matter. Look at it whatever way you want. Look at it as the fact that you know, that these folks are coming around at this point, are angry, there's numerous things that have happened, and I just think there's a general feeling overall of people just getting sick of everything that Trump is doing. It is all piling up. Grassley was Lincoln's college buddy. He is that old, Cynthia Rice. You are correct. I actually think he was opposed to the original Martin Luther's 95 Theses, and also fought against Hammurabi's Code. So it's important to know these things. And I say that, actually, I'm obviously making jokes about the fact that he's 4 billion years old, but that wasn't the only joke I was making there. Something you should know, which is he is the only senator left in the U.S. Senate that I'm aware of. I could look it up and try to see if there's, but I looked it up before, to vote against the Martin Luther King Day holiday. That vote, I think, was in 1983. Chuck Grassley was a spry 78 at that point. So yeah, we still have a senator who voted against the Martin Luther King Day holiday there, and it is Chuck Grassley. because he's like 96 or 7. And again, he doesn't even function mentally anymore. They made that the fact that they went after Biden for his age and that this guy is still there is ridiculous in and of itself. Dr. Kev's Gal, $6.66. Is that because you're saying I'm the devil or they're the devil? Thanks for helping keep me sane through all this. It is my pleasure. It is what I do. And I'll, won't go into a big thing right now, maybe later, but I'll say while we're here, obviously, if you can join in with Dr. Kev's Gal with super chats and stickers, they are much appreciated here and necessary to keep the show going. Subscribe to Cliffy's Substack. Thank you, Chipmunk Milk. Yes. Please subscribe to the Substack. That's the other place where that keeps growing. That sort of takes care of everything else. And you have to be subscribed to watch the live stream I'm having tomorrow. Last week we had on Joe Walsh. It was great. The sound wasn't perfect. I know some people said that. That wasn't my fault. We're working on it, but you use your phone. It's a little tougher. I wish we could kind of, their system to have it sent out to all of your members, you have to use your phone. So that's one thing I wish you didn't have to do, but you do. And it's, this mic that used to not work, but seems to work most of the time now. It really was the connection. It sounds a lot better than my phone does. Member for 2 months, Craig Edmonds, is Albrego Garcia still alive? That's what I hope. I mean, I certainly think we're going to find out, because Chris Van Holland is in El Salvador now. He's already there. I don't know, you guys. I don't have other news on right now or anything like that. I could look around, but then I already did that with the Grassley website and get. It was a little time I wasn't talking to you. Somebody wants to check it out, look around, see if you can find it. Maybe you can find it where he's gotten to the prison or whatever. But I think we can assume if they refuse to show him, refuse to allow Senator Van Hollen to see him, then we sadly must assume the worst. We're going to find out here. You're going to find out how much of a crisis we're truly in. But Van Hollen has got a lot of guts. Booker saying he's going to go down there. There's a member of Congress too. And I want to make sure everybody gets credit on this. Because it is a courageous thing to do. So AP News, let's see. Yep. Van Hollen is there. And the goal is to get the Trump administration to let El Salvador know that we are going to keep fighting to bring him home. Oh, there you go. After arriving in San Salvador, Van Hollen posted another video from the back of a moving car saying he was traveling to the city and planned to meet with officials at the U.S. Embassy. He said he would have a better idea later in the day whether he can meet with Albrego Garcia, who is detained at the notorious CCOT prison. I wish Van Hollen, I really respect the hell out of him for going down there. As I said, it's courageous. Though I do wish he should say, later in the day, we will be planning to meet with him unless otherwise prevented or something like that. Put the onus on them. The rest of it is just about them saying there's no basis to send him back. So this says Cory Booker is also considering going, but I feel like there was a member of Congress, a House member, and I don't see who that is. So we will make sure to give them credit in the future, because everybody who makes this decision and does this, it's a pretty courageous act right now in a pretty unstable situation. So that is that takes care of Van Hollen. That takes care of Booker and Grassley, the Methuselah's great uncle. Let me see if about this, beyond just the general thing I gave you, the Booseberg ruling. So I said maybe in contempt of criminal court. Sounds pretty strongly like he thinks they are. U.S. District Judge James Booseberg said there is cause to hold the Trump administration in criminal contempt. That sounds pretty straightforward. For ignoring his orders over flights containing migrants who were sent to El Salvador. So this isn't just about Kilmar Abrego Garcia. This is about the fact that the Trump administration purposely made sure the flight was in the air, even though they're supposed to let the court know ahead of time, so then they could say, oh, sorry, he's not in U.S. jurisdiction anymore. Nothing we can do. It's breaking the law. In a lengthy ruling issued Wednesday, the judge said there was sufficient evidence to show a willful disregard by the administration. If there's sufficient evidence to show a willful disregard, and they didn't just screw up, and that's always possible with the Trump people because they really are that stupid, but they also are that evil. willful disregard. Now we're in criminal territory. And you know, as I said, I mean, his wife is here. I wish she would. You know, I know that the first thing here is you don't do anything now to antagonize because you want to get your husband back. My God, I hope she launches a criminal lawsuit. I mean, a civil lawsuit the likes we've never seen. I hope he does because he's back here. Either way, they better go after this SOB right now. Right now. Not right now. As soon as hopefully they have a little more time to get it resolved. So I shouldn't say it that way. The most important thing is that he comes home alive and well. Next is that that sends a message right away because he'll talk to the press and all that stuff. And that's what the Trump people don't want. Maybe what they're doing even right now is they're preparing a dossier to try to destroy his character, try to destroy the character of Judge Booseberg, try to destroy the character of the reporters who report on it. Everything you can possibly do to ensure that that you know whatever he says. You know, they can claim on MAGA channels he's just a lying immigrant, blah, 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 blah. So that's what they're looking to do. But well, that's right. Nemocene, Vermont. He's never going to be quote well again. I mean, yeah, by definitions of well, he's going to need counseling. Certainly, I would think, and need a lot of things. He's never going to be what he was. But we can't change what we can't change. What we can do is bring him back, hopefully healthy now. People go through things, go through diseases, cancer and other stuff and aren't the same afterwards. Are in violent situations aren't the same afterwards, but we do the best we can to try to help them live the best life possible. So I take your point. He will never be exactly the same. There's no way this experience, even if we were to get out today, he's been there weeks now, right? 3 weeks. I don't know, something like that. In this horrible place, probably feeling a threat to his life every day, maybe already attacked. Who knows? Food's probably awful. There's probably rats and roaches. I mean, I don't even want to go into it. It's awful. It's horrible. But my hope is we do what we need to do to make him as whole as we possibly can. Because again, to go back to what I talked about earlier, the people that we got out, and by the time, and they've done a lot more since then. The 8 years I was on the board of the Innocence Project here in Ohio, we got something like 30-something prisoners who had been prisoners out, freed, exonerated, or something close to that, so that they could leave because everybody knew they hadn't committed those crimes. They were never going to be the same people. Some of them were in there for 20, 30. We, at the time, sadly, broke a record for the man in the longest incarceration, and it's been broken since then. And it'll be broken again, probably because we put all sorts of people in prison here and pretended that we gave a crap about justice during the 80s and 90s and all of that, and before that, and of course we didn't in many cases. But 37 years for a murder he did not commit. We got him out, Ricky Jackson, and he went on the Today Show and all sorts of places afterwards. Will he ever be the same? How can you be? You go in at 17, you come out in your 50s, right? But you have a life again, and that's the best we can do. It's awful, it's horrible. And in this case, in those cases too, they often know people are innocent ahead of time. You really have to be a special kind of piece of shit to be willing to look at somebody who's innocent and over your career or some other reason say, and I'm talking about these prosecutors now here in Ohio and other states. I mean, we don't need to discuss whether Donald Trump is a special kind of piece of shit. We all know that. We knew that, as those signs have said, like people chose to purposely board the Titanic again. I mean, he couldn't do the kind of damage he's doing now the first term because he didn't know how the place operated at all. Not that he learned very much, but he didn't know what he could do. And there were a lot of people in place to stop him. Few of those people were in place. He knew who to get rid of right away. He had the Project 2025 blueprint. I mean, he's probably already done more damage in, the less than 90 days he's been there. He's been there about 85, 86 days at this point. He's done more damage in that time than he did probably maybe in the whole 4 years he was there the first time. Crazy. This weird thing is going on with my comment section that it's not loading as quickly. I apologize for that. I don't know why that is. But I'm just not seeing as many of your comments as I normally would. Okay, I don't want to learn more about what you're trying to tell me. So just go away, little message. So that's where we are. Central Park 5. There's a good example. People talking about them in the comments. No, Chipmunk Milk. Trump will never concede he made a mistake. I mean, he doesn't make mistakes, right? Central Park 5. Oh, so you were talking about that too. Yeah. No. I mean, and again, it makes them more liable if they admit they made a mistake. So they wouldn't do it for legal reasons, but they wouldn't do it because they're not moral human beings. They're amoral pieces of crap. They're what you wipe off your shoe when you step in the wrong place. So no, they'll never admit they did anything wrong. They don't care. I don't think they think they did anything wrong. He's not human to them. He's garbage. He's disposable. Just toss him. Good for you. Toss him. He's not a real person. Shout out to Mr. Bernie Sanders and AOC, Deborah Rock. Yeah, they're doing a hell of a job. That is another thing when we talk about spectacle. AOC has been, quite frankly, incredible. What I love about her, the youth energy, but she's also using the messaging, like she's not holding back, right? I mean, Donald Trump, all the stuff he said about all these immigrants, and she said, of course, Donald Trump, if you want to see a criminal and a rapist, look in the mirror. Yeah. She went after Marjorie Taylor Greene about her insider trading. Like, she ain't holding back. And that's what you need to do. That's what you need to do. I wish maybe it's that there'd be too many of these things going on at a time, but like, I love what they're doing. I love what Booker did. But I kind of wish, there's a couple other members, young members, non-young members who are so effective at communicating and have been out there speaking. I wish they would they don't have to do as big a tour as this one, but go do some mini tours some places. Treat this like it is a campaign to win over people's hearts and minds and sympathy and make them realize if they're even at all on the fence anymore, which is scary to even think about it, how evil this person is, how stupid this person is, how corrupt this person is. There are people out there to talk to. Lefty Gramps is here. I see that. Thank you for being here. I'm lurking, drains clogged under the house. Wayne Yuan. All right. We have issues. We all have issues. So I did invite Tony to join today. Maybe I'll call him. I wish they'd let me do that in there. Oh, look, there's something from Schuster. I can see if he wants to check in right now. Let's see. I am on air for my live stream. Feel like joining for 15 to 20? I'll send him an invite even, because that's the kind of guy that I am. And if David decides to join us, he will. I just got back from a vacation, so he may be a little tired. Let's see. Oh, Tony did tell me he won't be able to make it on today. So he did answer me. It is not his fault. It is not your fault. Let's see. What else do we got? Here. I can present like pictures in here too, can I? I want you all to tell me what you think's happening here. Don't be profane. Well, if you want to be profane. Is that going to work? Come on. Maybe the dragging thing just doesn't work and you have to like image file. Come on. We can do this. You guys make me wait for all the stuff that I need to, that I want to show all the kind people that are here. Ooh, there it is. Let's see if it works. There it is. Anybody want to guess what you think she's reacting to there? What is going on with Carolyn Levitt there? I'm just wondering. And no, I didn't do that because I'm looking for what you think I'm looking for. I did that just because she looks very shocked. Hungry. Yeah, of course, somebody hungry for meat. Okay. I'm sure she loves a good, hot dog or hamburger now and again, right? All right, there we go. Donnie, dude, Lido is jumping into the Danny. Sorry. Yeah, we're hearing sexual things. She just realized. See, there. I wanted creativity, and VD Hertz gave it to me. Even though that's a great name, by the way. She just realized her husband is older than her father. You guys know that story? She married a real estate developer who's 32 years older than her. And that makes him more than twice her age, actually, because she's like 27 or 28. Don't, make the mistake of thinking that's the only reason she's stupid, because she's young. Maybe some young folks in here. We all learn more as we grow older. She's just dumb, though. But yeah, she married a real estate developer. She actually got pregnant with him before she was married. Not something I think any of us would judge each other for in here, but we'll judge her because she judges everybody else. She walks around and talks about what a Christian she is and blah, 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 and hates everything from gay rights to abortion. But, she's fine getting knocked up before she's married because that's her. And that's the way fascism works, is the rules don't apply to them. They only apply to the little people like us. So she did that, and then he gave her some huge diamond ring, which she put up on Instagram because she obviously has a lot of confidence in herself and feels really good about herself. That's why she's a Trumper who's busy showing off material things like that. And dude is like, again, he may be Chuck Grassley's age. I mean, think about it for a second. 29, 39, 40. Guy is like 7 years older than me. I would find it gross dating somebody like that. I'm married, so I don't want to date anybody, but I'm just saying if I were single, somebody in their 20s, are you freaking kidding me? Ew, let's get her out of here. So yeah, she's been removed. Yeah, she is you say snarkiest, but snarky can almost be used in a positive way, like, sarcastic, fun, or whatever. She's just a fucking jerk and a cruel moron. She's what happened when cheese congeals over a number of weeks in a hot sun and drips down onto a fecal-laden surface. That's her. She's terrible. Rude, yeah. I mean, she's just a horrible person. Snarky to me, again, you may have meant it differently. Snarky gives me sort of image of kind of messing around, being a little sarcastic and a little bit obnoxious. No, she's flat out just a horrible person. She has granddaddy issues, obviously. Her husband's old enough to be granddaddy almost. So do as I say, not as I do. That is correct, Jim. That is what they do. But again, as I've said before, I think it goes further with fascist regimes. I think it's not even do as I say, not as I do. So it's sort of like, oh, well, I get to get away with it because I'm a fascist. I just get like a loophole. I think they actually purposely do it in some ways because I think they want to show you, it's part of the way they show you that they're better than you and that all the rules they place on you don't apply. Right? Any of you guys watch The Handmaid's Tale? I just missed the one last night, so nobody giving anything away. I need to watch the new one. But the point is, the general series, how, of course, these religious men wanted to take back America and turn it to Gilead's because women, we weren't having enough children anymore, and women need to be able to give birth to children and all that. And that's how they justify raping handmaids and all the stuff that they do. And then, of course, all these supposedly Christian men, while reading their Bible verses, while their wives are in the room and they're raping handmaids, which is awful and as terrible as it sounds if you haven't seen it. They don't show those scenes all the time, but there have been one or two of them. And they torture women, of course, kill them, and anybody who tries to fight back against them. And then you find that they've got these clubs called Jezebels where they send women after they've given birth because they're no longer useful. And they turn them into prostitutes for all of the powerful men. Because again, that's almost done in your face on purpose. We're better than you. We get to have our prostitutes. We get to claim that we're moral, religious men with our wives. That's who we are. We're your superiors. Yeah, Cynthia, I'd seen that she ran for Congress and failed. And, isn't that the story of all of these folks? They fail at anything they try to do. The reason why they show up here is they've got a grievance because they're failures. They can't do anything based upon their own creativity, intelligence, hard work, ingenuity. That doesn't work. So the way they are successful is by harming others, by kissing up to powerful people and getting special favors. That's how you do it. When you fail at everything you try to do, then you're successful. Like Trump, who took 413 million or whatever it was from daddy and, lost it all multiple times over and could have just put it in the stock market and gone and sat on a beach somewhere, and put it in something conservative in the old sense of the word conservative, as in cautious, not in the sense of the fascist, ridiculous loons. And at 6%, 7%, would have been set forever. But nope, couldn't do that. They suck at everything. So yeah, she ran a failed campaign for Congress, and then Trump saw her, and I'm sure he's like, she looks like my daughter, like he does with various younger women he finds hot, porn stars and Playboy bunnies and various others. Let's see what else is going on, guys and gals. Do you miss me here? How's Matt been doing on Tuesday? I bet Matt's doing a great job. I hope that all of you were here on Tuesday for Matt. He's pretty awesome. And let me see if there's anything else cool to show you. That was kind of a cool clip. You want to see a funny clip? I don't know if you guys are fans or not. Are you guys fans of some of the Bulwark guys? I actually have to admit, I don't know him. I haven't met him. Maybe I will at some point. But I find Tim Miller's takedowns to be pretty funny. All right. Well, first we're getting the Matt stuff. I always forget there's a little bit of a delay. So C7557 says Matt's doing a great job. Outstanding. Matt Robeson is doing a service cliff from Jim Sheldon. Matt's doing a great job. All really good stuff. That's what I like to hear. And Matt has good guests. He does. I don't know if that's a shot at me, man. Yeah. Now that I'm doing this, at least for right now, largely once a week, I told you I'll come in on some Tuesdays when I can. I kind of feel like I want to just talk with you guys. But let me know. I did at the last minute invite Tony. I wanted to invite a guest that you can invite for 15 minutes. You know what I'm saying? A good friend or somebody, So I invited Schuster at the last minute here. I'm going to guess he sent me something saying he can't do it. And I invited, I didn't hear back from him yet, actually. And I invited Tony, and he couldn't do it. I just figured it's kind of cool to talk to you guys, and I have to go pick up my kids today around 3:30 or so. So we probably have a sort of ceiling of about 3:15 today. And so I thought, there may be some days like this where I don't have to, and I can go, more to 3:30, 3:45, and then maybe more likely to have a guest. So there are a lot of Tim Miller fans in here. It seems he's done good stuff. All right. Well, let's see if this works. This time I'm not going to even try to just drag it in. I'm just going to, because I enjoyed this a lot. I was thinking of maybe turning into a video on my channel and saying something, just, a kudos kind of thing. Because it's good stuff. Let's see. All right, let's see if this works.
As this Twitch streamer that is friends with Barron Trump, Aiden Ross, he's having some sads. Some bad things are happening to him right now. And he has some questions that he's asked his viewers about why his stocks have gone down so much. And I want to answer them for him. But let's watch together first.
Guys, you want to be honest with you? I don't know how many of you guys are invested in crypto or stocks. What the fuck is going on with our country? Guys, why am I poor? What is going on in the world right now? Why the fuck is this going on? Can somebody please explain what's going on?
Next.
Why are we all losing? Why are we all negative right now? Does anybody know why?
So I can answer that. I can answer what's happening in the world right now. You helped elect Donald Trump, you fucking moron. You thought you knew better. You thought he was based. You thought you could play video games with him and get the Gen Zs to pay back the wokes and the annoying people that you don't like, the scolds that don't like it when you do racist shit. And you thought that he'd make you rich because he was a fake rich guy who bankrupted his company 1 billion times before you were even born. But you don't know how to read. So you didn't read the old stories about how Donald Trump's been bankrupt over and over and over again. And he's not a real businessman. He's a pretend TV businessman. And you were a key player in helping get him elected. So if you want to know why you're getting poor right now, Aiden Ross, let me show you a video that helps explain it.
Check out this rap and let me know your honest thoughts.
I think it's incredible.
Oh, God.
That's why. You're poor because you helped elect Donald Trump. And now, you and all the fucking rest of us are dealing with the consequences. So there you go, Aiden. Hope that clears things up. Donald Trump, not an economic genius. He played one on TV. Actually a moron who got bankrupted a lot and has decided to put in the stupidest tariff regime in American history. Downstream effect of that, chart goes down. Good luck, buddy.
That I'm adding David right now. That was Tim Miller, David, and that was honestly, I like some of his stuff. Obviously, with my style, I very much like his attitude. I very much like the way he speaks to these people and sends a very clear message that they do not deserve any respect, and he treats them with the disrespect I believe they've earned. So I enjoy some of his stuff, but I think that's the single best thing I've ever seen him do. Every line was just the sarcastic tone was perfect, just everything. I thought.
When I just clicked in, I thought at first, oh, you got Tim Miller live, and what, that's so interesting. And then I finally realized, oh no, that's a tape, and that was brilliant. And I get the sense, Cliff, and I think it's, it takes a certain. So for everybody, joining, I've sort of been off for the last couple of days, and I realize that it takes it out of you when you're doing this day in and day out and trying to keep up with the clown car and all the nonsense, and the perspective of having a couple of days off, Cliff, has sort of made me think that, I'm sensing, and I think I sense it a little bit from you, and I definitely sense it from that clip from Tim, that there is a seething anger beyond the sort of the normal rage that so many of us in the media have had about Donald Trump for a long time. And I think it's even beyond just the first, month of his administration, even beyond the anger that many of us had when he blamed the plane crash and the helicopter on DEI. Yeah. There's something now that is just, it's almost like we've sort of crossed the threshold. And I sense it from so many people in the media, and I think rightfully so, who are just, this has gone beyond the pale. And so there's just an anger and a frustration that so many of us have. And it, it wears on all of us. I worry about, the health and the mental health of folks like, you and Tim Miller and others, but I also appreciate the anger and just the rage that so many of us are feeling.
Well, I appreciate that. First, of course, everybody, if you don't know who he is, you must have been under a rock or not born. David Schuster, former anchor at MSNBC and CNN, Emmy Award winner, brilliant, funny, fantastic. In fact, we have the one paid newsletter we send out every week. We'll be sending out today. Everything else so far we've kept free, and that one David does a sort of roundup of the news that is hilarious. But you got to pay to get that one because David isn't just funny for anybody on the street. I kid, but I want to answer your question, which is, yeah, right. Like that is, I felt after the Trump election, and I've had some things going on with the health of my mom too that didn't help, added to that. But after that election, I for the first time in my life felt like I did actually go through depression. The way people describe it, I've been prone. I've had issues because I had Graves' disease when I was younger to have generalized anxiety and some things like that. But I never had depression. I'd be the type of guy that would get upset about something horrible that happened and bounce back within 48 hours. And it was the first time right after the election. It took me. I mean, I was down the dumps for a while, and then I did, but. That and so it's not anything close to depression anymore, but I'm so fucking angry. And I guess that's what it is, what you're getting at. When I watch people who callously send an innocent man to a gulag, to a concentration camp, and don't want to do the right thing and bring that person back. When they, you know, purposely put on such counterproductive, stupid tariffs that the only conclusion you're left to come to, there's really two of them and they both fit because you could do both of them, is one, the spoiled child is lashing out. He was never loved by mommy and daddy. He always needs to feel like he's the tough guy in the room that people have adulation for and fear. So one thing is he gets to say fuck you to all of our trade partners and I'm tougher than you, and he makes him feel good about himself to screw people over, right? Secondly, it also has the desired effect of he's one of the greediest humps alive, and it sends the stock market falling down, and he's probably bet against the country. And then is ready to go in when the market's low and buy again. And he can accomplish both of those things by doing it. So it's sort of like, you know, I'm sitting here watching him purposely harm all of us, everyone, even his own voters, which I've never seen anybody do before.
And I just get the sense, Cliff, that maybe the Supreme Court, when the Supreme Court rules 9-0 that you have to facilitate this man's return to the United States, and even if I were to go and I reject all the Trump arguments, but even if you are to accept, let's just suppose, for argument's sake, that Garcia was a member of Trenta de Agua, or that he is in fact a terrorist, there is still an obligation on the government of the United States to prove that in court before you deport him. And so this, all this stuff about, who he is, to me, that's sort of irrelevant. The Supreme Court has said, you violated due process, you must bring him back. And, I saw, in reading in, I saw, Tom Homan and some others in the Trump administration say, well, we bring him back, we're just going to deport him again. That may be the case, but that is due process. You have to bring him in front of a judge.
Right. It's weird, but you know what, Homan, you fucking human thumb, like that's the way it's worked in the history of this country. And sometimes I was talking about it earlier about El Salvador, which, wow, oh my God, they had these, and look, there was a national security crisis. There were gangs there. By the way, we helped cause some of that with the fact that we purchased a lot of drugs and that we have made guns so easy to get there, easier to get than they are in almost any other place. But okay, take that aside. They decide that they're going to solve that. And not by beefing up security forces and doing things and trying to, more cases and going really aggressively going after the people doing this, but also maybe on the carrot side of things, bolstering social programs, trying to keep kids out of gangs, trying to do just anything you can. He just goes and arrests whole groups of people. And that includes, like, if somebody called in that, hey, I saw them hanging around with one of those gang guys, you should bring him in. Which may be somebody that wants your wife or wants your job or wants you whatever. It doesn't matter. You're arrested. And Human Rights Watch did a report and they said, yeah, all sorts of innocent people were arrested with the guilty. So it's really easy if you're a fascist to, as I said, to lower crime on the streets. What the problem is that where crime goes way up is from you because you're a fascist and you don't care. And you commit all sorts of crimes against humanity and against the people that you're ruling. And so, like, yeah, maybe we'd spend more money. Maybe it would be a big pain in the butt. Maybe all of this stuff. But when it comes to somebody who is innocent till proven guilty, which is what we're supposed to believe here, they're innocent till proven guilty. Prove it.
Yeah, and if the Supreme Court no longer matters, I mean, look, a lot of things that the Supreme Court has done over the last 5 or 6, 7, 8 years, I have strongly disagreed with. I mean, it ripped my heart out when the Supreme Court said a president could have immunity for actions that he conducted in office. I mean, I think that's crazy. But if Donald Trump is now saying the Supreme Court doesn't matter, the rule of law doesn't matter, I mean, my temptation is to say, well, then that goes both ways. And if we're going to,
blue states should just start passing whatever laws they want. They should go confiscate handguns, and they should make sure abortion is. I mean, there's all sorts of things that they can go and do because I guess what the Supreme Court says doesn't matter at all.
Exactly. And that also includes that then applies to Donald Trump. That I have sort of said, well, the Supreme Court ruled that Donald Trump has immunity, and we all have to live with that. Well, no, maybe we don't have to live with that now. Maybe we simply say, let's lock up Donald Trump. Let's have a group of citizens go and make a citizen's arrest of the 34 felony convicted Donald Trump and throw in some gulag somewhere, because even though the Supreme Court and federal judges and all that would say, no, you can't do that, that's against the law. Well, if the law doesn't matter anymore, if we're just sort of throwing out the rule of law, well, then that applies not just to the people, the immigrants that you don't like, that then also applies to the presidents and the lawmakers we don't like. And if that's the society that Donald Trump wants, I mean, it gets dangerous, not just for all of us, but I think it also gets dangerous for him.
I mean, I think you're exactly right. you know? And so that's what I was talking about. I spent some time talking about like, all of this, but when you're talking about the anger and all of that, it is a mental health, it really is a mental health risk, and why you have to do things like you just did. And when I went on to Key West for about 5 days, about 3 weeks ago, and just turned off most of this, like, I mean, that was incredible and really good for me. So you need to find ways to to do that. I'm sure Tim Miller, you're talking about, finds ways to do that. But, listen, some of the anger fuels some of what we need. Yeah. As I also pointed out, Cory Booker has been on fire since the filibuster. And what I really liked about what he did on Sunday, and you as an anchor can speak to this, and somebody on news often, but I have somebody who's been that guest, which is Republicans do this all the time. You don't need to answer the question that's asked. Right. And I love that Kristen Welker keeps asking the stupidest questions possibly imaginable. What about the horse race? And Kamala Harris, she's like, I don't care about 2028. Right now in 2024, there's no due process and people are being kidnapped out of the country. People are having their jobs taken away from them without any warning, and went into this whole thing. And I'm like, Democrats, like all of you, any of you watch this or watch anything else, that I do or David does, whatever, go on these shows. Because again, I used to go on shows. I didn't care. I mean, the only reason I ever went on Fox, partially, was just fun to make fun of them. But also, I talked about what I wanted to talk about. Right. I didn't care. They could ask me like, Cliff, Democrats are committing partial birth abortions, like, in the 47th month and, whatever. And I'd be like, oh, I'm like, that's interesting. Rupert Murdoch is, is on his 5th wife now. And is that the one who's the Putin spy? I mean, who's he with now? Like, are you guys, does that bother you all that Roger Ailes is a big sexual offender? Or, I mean, I'd say whatever the hell I want to say back to them. I mean, I got banned from Sean Hannity's show because I went on and I insulted him.
Well, and there's lots of different ways, obviously, that if an anchor, and we used to have the sort of trick all the way back. So this goes now back, 25 years when I was at Fox at the very beginning, folks. Don't hold it against me.
Don't judge David. He was out of college.
But when we would get, as a field correspondent, when we would get a really sort of stupid question from the anchor or host, we sort of had this, there are a couple of different tricks you could use. One was, what, my earpiece was breaking up. I didn't hear what you said, but I think what you meant to ask me was blah, blah, blah. And then you put it on your turf. Or you say, what, that's a really interesting question, but the more important point is, and so you can do it the polite way, or you can just say, no, I don't care about 2028. We're going to talk about the pain that people have right now and put people in their place. And if you're not working for a news organization, there's obviously a little bit more freedom that a Cory Booker has to put Kristen Welker in her place, or that you had to put Sean Hannity in his place, than people who are gainfully employed by Rupert Murdoch. But there are different, you don't have to answer the question that is posed to you. And there's also some very polite ways that you can redirect or move things around.
Yeah, I kind of I'm a bit of a jerk that way, which I am what I am. And I think I'd seen that how easily Hannity lost his temper. So when they invited me on that show, I knew it was going to be a one-time thing, because I knew he's going to be the dick that he is, and I knew that I wasn't going to take it. So I went on and I said, let me see what I can do to get him really upset, and lose his temper. And I kept poking at him. We were arguing. It was during the Bush years. We were arguing about 2007, something like George W. Bush, whatever. And I'm like, have you, I don't know what I said. I wish I could find that old video and pull it out, like I didn't say any curses or anything. Like, have you removed your tongue recently, Sean, or, whatever. I knew that it was going to end with him calling me names, and I called him names during the closing credits. It's so long ago that it was actually Hannity and Combs.
I got a great story for you. This is about a mutual friend of ours, Dan Gross, went on many years ago. Again, probably all the way back to the time when you were on with Hannity and Combs. But Dan Gross went on Sean Hannity's radio show, and Sean Hannity was trying to make some ridiculous, absurd claim about the economy and whatnot. And Dan said, well, Sean, if you would get your economic information from the Wall Street Journal instead of the New York Post, you would know that blah, blah, blah. And Hannity went, and, like you, Dan was never invited on anything Sean Hannity ever again.
Oh, my God. So, I can only assume Dan Gross is an author of a couple books for folks that don't know. I feel like he was a writer for a while for Slate. Yep. He's a terrific writer, terrific guy. And David and I, just by coincidence, some folks call it Jewish geography. I don't know, call it what you will. David went to camp with him, and my mom went to college with his parents. And so I knew David and Dan separately, and, know them.
And you and Dan Gross are part of the Banned by Sean Hannity Club. which
We
is
are.
which is awesome.
So
After
I was going
one
to ask, did
appearance.
Dan want to get banned though? Like, was he purposely trying? Because
think
you
he
had to know if he
knew.
said that, right?
I think he knew it was just going to be a one-off. He just figured it was a one-off, and so he just thought, he's just going to let it rip.
Yeah.
So,
Hey,
I
good
think
for
it's
him.
great.
I mean, again, I there are people there who I may have thought their politics was wrong, but the only I can think of one anyhow. But I could actually have conversations with. The only one I could think of like that was Neil Cavuto,
Yes.
who treated me with respect. I thought,
Yes.
he seemed center right. I remember him once saying to me, about raising taxes, and he's like, "Well, on people, who make more than 150,000, he's like, well, 150,000 is nothing." I was like, Neil, I get it. This is New York. It's expensive. There are other places that are, but come on. Understand what people are making out there and trying to live on and whatever. And in any case, so, so my point is he said things that I could find ridiculous, but he didn't say it. He didn't attack you. He didn't go straight for you. He wasn't nasty. So he was the only one I can think of on there that I would go on and actually, I didn't mind going on because he'd push his point and I felt like I'd be often victorious in pushing mine and, whatever happened. But most of them, O'Reilly, of course, had it out with him. I mean, they were and are who they were and are. And so, you can't, you got to take that into those kinds of battles. And I feel like now, I do have that anger and whatever, because we're at a whole different level of just absolutely gross and absolutely attacking our Constitution. And it's just, I think it's also just not just that he's doing it. It's the Kristen Welkers who refuse to ask real questions and act like an actual journalist that the Constitution talked about. Like free press, if people like her made up the entire press, having a free press wouldn't even be worth anything. Yeah. I mean, she's not helping anybody. She's not educating anybody. And then there's the little weak, members of Republican Congress, right? Like Squeaker Johnson, who from what I hear is at, all sorts of fun clubs on Wednesday nights that maybe his fundamentalists wouldn't approve of, but whatever, he can figure that out in his own due time, and is willing to destroy other people and let Trump do whatever he wants. And some of these justices on the Supreme Court, really 5 of them. I mean, even what's her face, Coney Barrett has been better lately, but certainly 5 to 6 of them, and just everybody that's enabled all of this and watched. And I'm frankly even angry at some people I know who voted for this. Yeah. I mean, again, that sign that was up, I was talking about earlier, like you voted to voluntarily get back on the Titanic, which is what happened. Like how, I mean, especially when some of those folks are like, well, I don't support what he's doing when he's doing this right now. Well, it's like, you can't be like, this isn't cafeteria Catholicism. You gotta be like, I like that. I don't like that. If he does something that destroys the world economy and maybe gets us into a war and tosses the Constitution, what are the parts that you like? I'm just wondering. I don't know. So I am angry because this is all self-inflicted and was all unnecessary. And it's just still incredible to me that various institutions and forces in American society, from Merrick Garland to our corporate mainstream media, whatever the hell you want to call them, to other Republicans who either didn't speak out or spoke out when it was too late or whatever, like all the things that needed to happen for this person to be able to get back into this position just to make me so angry.
I'm right there with you. I got to tell you, Cliff, have you ever been, and you posted something on that I was thinking about over my trip on Substack. You posted a column from a guy who talked about sort of ordinary people just, saying, no, I'm not going to take this. And just in their own sort of in their own lives, people whose names we will never know, who just in how they live their lives on a day-to-day basis are saying no. Right. And are rejecting what Trump stands for. And I thought of that because have you ever been to the America Dream Mall in East Rutherford, New Jersey? It was built probably in the last 20 years. It's one of the the world's largest malls.
Back in the day, like I'd moved from New York by then, but I think I went back to see my family at one point, and we went out there. Yes.
So it's like one of the largest malls in the world. They've got like indoor ski slopes. They've got water parks, amusement parks, huge arcades, skating rinks. I mean, they've got everything. And so what struck me is we took the kids there because the kids wanted to see it, and we did some like climbing walls and all sorts of different stuff and the bubble experience and everything. And what struck me is in that mall, we were there yesterday and the day before, you will find African Americans, Latinos, Hasidic Jewish people, Christian conservatives, pure white bread people from the Midwest. I mean, it was every different group of America you could possibly imagine, and everybody is getting along. and everybody's, you know, waiting in line at the food court, or they're encouraging each other when their kids are climbing up the ropes. It was like the ultimate melting pot of America. And these are people who, instead of being angry at people who are different from them, instead of being, you know, mad or about, you know, they're just being pleasant and helping each other and encouraging one another. And and it struck me because it gets right back to the column and what you had posted about, you know, all of us get to make a choice in every sort of action we take during our sort of normal, ordinary lives. Are we going to be the angry, suspicious person of that Latino or African American or Hasidic Jewish person or whatever it is? Or are we just going to say, hey, they're just out in the mall just trying to have some fun, and their kid is climbing the climbing wall, and yay, good job. And that's what it was like. And I was struck by how just it's so sort of may seem like so sort of ordinary that, yeah, of course people are going to be generally nice to each other. But I feel like now, if we can make that sort of active choice that in our interactions with people who are different than us, or come from different places, or have entirely different perspectives on whatever, but we're still sort of pleasant with each other, that itself is a repudiation of everything that Donald Trump and I think most of MAGA stand for. And it inspired me.
No, I think that's a great point. I mean, I've gotten it down to the only people I'm suspicious of are people from Indiana. So that's been pretty. I'm kidding. I love myself the Schuster family from Indiana.
We got to talk about JD Vance dropping the Ohio State championship trophy. That was just hilarious on so many levels. And I know Ohio State people are going to go crazy, but
yes, anyway. It's just perfect, isn't it? It's a metaphor. Trust me. But in all seriousness, no, I do, and I think I can bring my anger to these places, and I think it's necessary here. But in regular life at this point, you know, I'm not in that phase I was in right after the election. Like, yeah, I purposely try to hold doors for every single person I can. I try to be more patient than I used to be in the past, whether driving, you know, letting people, you know, walk in front of me or whatever it might be. Because as a raised New Yorker, I was not, you'd be surprised to know, the most patient person. And you know, it's been, you know, and I have tried to do that. And I do think that is a great point. The sadness to me comes in the fact that I think a strong majority of us are generally like that, but there are people for whom the right-wing media universe and people like Donald Trump can make it so to a generic, you know, person different than them, they can be the nicest person in the world and yet still that lizard brain because they're on Fox. When it's specific individuals, like it's sometimes people that you've had these great conversations with, and then something comes out about those immigrants, and you're just like, right. You know, and they find a way to sort of bring out the worst. Right. So it's a shame, but I think you're right. Like, I think you try to do the best that you can in those situations, because there is a lot of anger out there. You know,
and I think it's, you can do both, right? I mean, I think, you know, holding doors open and being polite to strangers and all that, we can do all of that. And I would, you know, anybody sort of walking in front of me, even if they have a MAGA hat on, I'd open the door for them. There is a place, though, to express our anger and frustration over politics. And I just think that what Donald Trump has sort of encouraged so many Americans to do, and thankfully I think most Americans reject it, is Donald Trump is just this sort of the meanness, the hatred that he infuses throughout society. And what I see is, no, most people are not buying into that. Most people are being polite and holding the door open and cheering on somebody else's kids. There is a place when we discuss the issues of the day and politics and make political decisions where we absolutely should have the anger and the rage and the frustration. But it's also nice to see that, you know, that may be confined to whether it's, you know, shows or political discussions, but that in sort of the more ordinary parts of our life, like going to the mall, we can all still reject Donald Trump by just being nice to the stranger around us. And seeing that, one of the world's largest malls, sort of, I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit naive, but it sort of
but what you just said
me a little bit.
What you just said actually is important, and we may have to end with this because I do have two kids I have to go pick up at school in about 20 minutes. So I think I said to people I'd end around 3:15 or so today. But I showed a clip earlier before you came on. It reminds me, somebody in here asked, we'll get David's stuff up here, or mine too. But somebody had asked about that clip from Tim Miller. I'll try to find where I found it. I had downloaded it because I thought I might do a video, just do a commentary and be like, well, this is one of the better takedowns I've ever seen, and whatever. So I don't have the link right now to share with you, but I can try to find that and send that. So that's the first thing. But otherwise, to say what I was going to say is I showed the clip of Chuck Grassley's town hall. If you've seen that, David,
Yep.
and it's all these Trump voters. It looks like it. Certainly, one guy is wearing a MAGA hat, and others who are yelling, and they're getting upset about what happened in El Salvador. And that heartened me to a degree because, again, they're all very white, older, and realizing maybe just from a moral place, at least one of them said exactly what you just said. When you said be kind to a stranger, he brought up that parable from the Bible about being kind to the stranger on the road, and that this man said, I'm a Christian, and this, I don't understand how you can justify this. But there are others who didn't bring up their Christianity or religion and just said, what the hell are you doing? How can you send a man out without due process and all of this? And yeah, some of them may have been Democrats, but a bunch of them, again, MAGA hat guy, I really don't think we're plants. And I really do think a lot of people, there is a point where it crosses a line. And maybe this and a few of the things, the Doge cutting people's jobs who are MAGA folks in many cases, and other folks too, and destroying their farms and all of that. And then the Trump tariffs. And maybe it's all added up to cross a line where you have people, maybe a few people coming back to reality and saying this guy's nuts and what they're doing is nuts. And you can't just take somebody and deport them like that. And you can't, I'm hoping that that's where it is, or at the very least, even if they're selfish, they're saying to themselves, they're smart enough to say to themselves, this could happen to me or my kids.
And I think it was the Grassley where there's this one guy who said, hey, if a court orders me to pay $1,200 in fines, can I now ignore it because Donald Trump ignores the Supreme Court? And to me,
right,
that was it. That's like right there. And maybe that's the line that's been crossed for so many people, is that, okay, there's a certain amount of tolerance they will have to Donald Trump's recklessness, but once the sort of the guardrails are gone and the Supreme Court guardrail is wiped out, that's too much for some MAGA folks. And it is heartening to see that and to hear that.
I agree. So as a program note, I want to let folks know two things. One, I haven't sent out, I try to send it out by 12 or 1, but I haven't sent out our newsletter today. It's really the paid one with my column and David's video. New York Times pitch bot is in there. Some of our best Trumper responses attacking me. And that's because I had some stuff I had to do this morning, and I wanted to get at least 1 or 2 more edits in. So when I'm done with this, I grab my kids, go home, and it should be sent out at the latest by 4:30 today. We'll get it out there. It's already all written and all loaded. It's just, I want to get an edit. I certainly know, not you guys, because you guys are all very nice, but from some people, I will hear it if there's many grammatical mistakes in there. And I like to look it over and at least minimize that. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, David and I, maybe tomorrow, let's talk later, David, if you can. We'll sort of figure out whatever sound issues there were on and off when we had Joe Walsh. And now I've lost David the minute I said that, or at least his picture. I don't know if you're still there, David. But tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern, we will be on, David and I. We have a guest. As I said, there's like 1 or 2 people I'm talking to still. I think I know who it is who's going to join us, but don't want to give it away yet because I'm not 100% sure. David, are you still here? Did we lose you? Well, we have to go anyhow. I'll be in touch, David. He's out. Okay. So thank you as always. Thank you for being here. Thank you for checking in. Be there tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern. Subscribe at Substack, blueamp.co. Consider being a paid subscriber for even more great content like the letter today. But if you're an unpaid subscriber, you will still get to watch our interview tomorrow. Me and David will be interviewing. Oh, David's back. Me and David will be interviewing. As I said, I haven't said who yet because I'm going to talk to David a little bit later. There's 1 or 2 options, and we'll decide what way to go in for the thing tomorrow at 2 p.m. But be there to join us, and pleasure being here as it is always.
And Cliff, a big shout out not only to you but also to all the viewers who are putting up with sometimes the technical stuff. Like I just got a phone call which caused me to sort of lose the StreamYard here. all this like tech stuff, which is like way like outside of my comfort zone. But to everybody who sort of appreciates that, this is some new technology and are giving us a little bit of space to make some of these mistakes, we appreciate it.
Well, that's what I was saying about the sound. Like, I still think our interview with Joe was great. And I've put out 1 or 2 of those clips. I'm going to put the rest out tomorrow morning for everybody just to promote the show. So you can all see exactly what we did. and we'll have, if you can make it tomorrow at 2 p.m., David.
I'll be
what
there.
we should do is talk ahead of time, and we'll test out sound, see what we can do, try to make it. I don't know if it's a 3-person issue, so it may be tougher to figure out, but we'll do our best. And again, we will have a guest. I've got 1 person or 2 people right now who both have expressed interest. So I'm going to talk to and see if one would rather do it next week. But and that's why I'm not giving you a name yet. But they're both people and you will like. I promise you that. So that is all. Schuster out. Maybe is what I don't know what David says.
Schuster out.
Schuster out.
Cliff.
And what I say? Oh,
mic drop.
Sorry. Go ahead.
The Cliff Schechter mic drop.
Cliff Schechter mic drop. Thank you for being here.
Thanks,
my phrase, as always, is as the sun sets slowly in the west, I bid you a fond farewell. Thank you for being here, everybody, and we'll be back soon.